Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for prize fighters, circus freaks, and gangsters. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Greta.
And we are here, as always, to discuss the sports, science, and scams of the 19th century using TV and movies about the time period. This episode is about Season 3, Episode 3 of the amazing Max TV show Warrior, and the episode is entitled No Time for Fucking Chemistry, which I know has to have you in your feels.
Which I disagree with entirely. There is always time for chemistry. And we're going to see who's right about that.
Yes, we shall. Well, as we all know, provided you have a chemistry book, you can survive the apocalypse, as Mr. Bruce Campbell proved in Army of Darkness. So, which was an excellent documentary.
That was one of my favorite movies in college. I mean, hey, that chemistry book was the freshman chemistry book we had, and so me and all my friends super enjoyed it. But it, alas, did not have the recipe for gunpowder as advertised in the movie. Huge disappointment.
Oh, that is tragic. So, have you used that book to battle any sentient skeletons that have assaulted you in any way?
No, freshman chemistry is never that exciting.
Bah! They saved that for Orgo, I guess.
Well, okay, there you go. Well, you always have to wonder what level of literacy you're dealing with here, because this episode opens up on the sign that says salacious exhibitions, which is always a really long way of going about saying nudie show.
A nudie show. So did they get entirely nude in these nudie shows back in the day?
I am not sure, but I'm sure it did have 100% to do with how much money you had and were willing to throw around.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that if it wasn't Lola Montez, Ada Menken did get naked sometimes in her shows. But again, it was like one of those things where it was half apocryphal because she was always wearing like a skin-colored bodysuit anyway. So if sometimes she might have been naked, sometimes she might not have, or maybe people were just kind of filling in the blanks where nudity might not have been. But also, there wasn't a lot of underwear back then. So it seems like a woman flipping up her skirt, you'd probably see more than you would now.
Right, but on the other hand, there are a lot of skirts in those skirts. So on one hand, there wasn't a lot of underwear, but on the other hand, there was a lot of things under there.
Yeah, well, they were wearing 6 dresses at once. So.
Right. Okay, so we're back in the Barbary Coast, and I keep saying this is a town that is a town with a hangover, and it looks like how bad that hangover can get just keeps getting worse. I mean, rock bottom keeps getting further down, because this time it's a hangover with vomiting.
Oh, yeah, they're dumping slop buckets outside, and slop buckets, when I think of slop buckets, I usually think of pigs, like, oh, well, you're feeding pigs. But that's not what is coming out of these slop buckets. This is their toilet. This is their toilet from inside. That they're just...
Yeah, that's what they mean when they say slops.
Yeah, they throw that out in the street. And this bar is next to a butcher shop. And butchers also threw all their, like, refuse out in the street. So that was rotting meat and...
blood and,
rotting blood and... Yeah, and then that's all congealing with all of the shit and piss that everybody has thrown outside. Blah. It really must have smelled delicious. That mud. Imagine falling down in that mud. You'd get up with 3 different diseases.
Yes, you would. And just to sort of re-emphasize how far down the list this bar must have been next to the stinky, stinky butcher shop, the fiddle player they had walking out of there, he had one hand. Who hires a fiddle player with one hand?
Now I want to Google and see a one-handed fiddle player.
I only noticed this because we had to watch this episode a couple of times.
Because I don't even understand how that would work.
I have no idea. But you know who would make it work? Hong would make it work.
Hong could make anything work.
Well, Wong Chow doesn't believe that, and he cannot help but comment on how strangely happy Hong is. But they are wandering through this disgusting area to go visit their favorite opium lord, Happy Jack.
I resent those people for making me into the angry bastard that I became as a 20-something, from being the perpetually cheerful, annoying ball of energy that I typically was. Those people really suck. The people are like, why do you look happy all the time? Because that's the way I was fucking born. Shut up. I'm a ray of goddamn sunshine.
So we do get into Happy Jack's crew, and this is the first time I really clocked that, oh wait, these guys are Caribs. They're not speaking with that southern accent.
Yeah, and that is it's nice to hear a different accent other than the Oba-Kaby weird, that stereotypical buckwheat accent that, like, the very affected thing that I guess that came out of minstrel shows or whatever, but it's that is awful. And it's nice to hear more accents because, as you and I have discussed previously, there were a lot of crazy accents back in this day. Nobody was speaking with an effete British accent in the Old West. This was like you were speaking English with, like, broken English with a German accent, or broken English with a Spanish accent, or broken English with a Native American / Spanish accent. So, or French.
Yeah, Spanglish everywhere.
Russian. Yeah.
Though, to your point, there is one type of guy who would show up and speak in an effete British accent, and he was the guy who was looking to scam you out of all your money.
Yeah, you do make a point there.
Yes, I can be trusted because I'm speaking with this very important accent.
I feel like Mosley might bust out an effete British accent when he goes undercover at some point in this show.
That would definitely be possible.
Yeah.
And speaking of scams, we've got Young Jun and Hong and Wong Chow trying to so casually pass over their counterfeit bills.
I don't even know what kind of sweat must have been going down Young Jun's back during that.
And by casual, I mean super casual.
He probably had to change his suit after that. I imagine he would have sweated right through that thing.
And Happy Jack is like, why so much money now? Where'd you get it? What?
Aren't you the same guys who wanted this heroin on credit yesterday? Like yesterday.
They're just all being like, no, it's fine. It's cool. Be cool. Everything's cool. Just be cool. So yeah, that leaves things just hanging up in the air a little bit, but we find out this is yet another episode directed by Dustin Nguyen, and so it's going to be a lot of big damn fights, or it better be, since he directed the one with...
And some gore.
A lot of big damn fights down on the Mexican border.
Because Dustin Nguyen brings the gore, too. He enjoys the stabby goodness.
It's true. And so as a prelude to that, we get some good old-fashioned threats. Because Dennis Strickland strolls into Nellie's barrel room and just starts threatening.
And she eviscerates him in every line. It's amazing. She's like the world, like Floyd Mayweather, just counterpunching the shit out of him. Everything he has, she comes back with something harder.
But the thing is, Nellie doesn't realize here is that, well, he's the guy and the railroads are involved. I don't think she understands how hard this man is going to cheat to win. No. And although I couldn't really find any evidence of the railroad, like, pushing people out of their homesteads and things like that in California, I'm sure it happened all the time because it was the railroad. So. Oh, yeah. Oh, like they're going to write it down anywhere? No, they're just going to bury the bodies. Nellie really thinks that just because she's a wealthy widow and the rules have always worked for her before, they're going to continue to work for her. I mean, she's been on the top of the societal heap with all of her money. Well, on top of her giant pile of money.
Yeah.
I mean, the rules, of course, will work for her because so far they always have.
Well, from her vantage point, it might look like that she has all the leverage in the world, but I don't think what she doesn't realize is that, like, San Francisco was an isolated outpost until 1869 when the Transcontinental Railroad got there, and like the railroad was the thing. That's like Amazon and Walmart and all the airlines rolled into one thing. Like this was the whole world, and this is the only way you could connect with the world. So the railroad was the most important thing that existed.
And it was the way people were hooking up with more money-making opportunities. There was so much more money to be made. And so she just doesn't understand how hard people are going to cheat about this. And when it comes down to it, after all, she is just a woman.
Just a woman who has a farm that doesn't have a single male farmhand on it. It just has a bunch of non-people in these freed prostitutes. So no court on the earth is going to be like, yeah, we're going to delay the railroad for that, lady. We're going to jump right on that.
Right. Now, while Nellie is not being realistic, we do move over to somebody, because of her life experiences, has to be realistic. I mean, incredibly realistic. So realistic, I think she's kind of to the point of cynical. And it's Abigail. I mean, she's sort of like, hey, not cool having a cop living in my semi-illegal bar, a white cop living in my not exactly legal bar. Yeah.
His clapbacks are pretty feeble too. It's basically like, but I'm like an extra cool secret cop though.
Yeah.
Secret. It's a secret.
Yeah, Mr. White Dude, you may not be aware of all of the realities here because, let's just say your reality, a little different than my reality, and you've been able to skirt around some of the things that are very real for me.
Also, being the same...
and looks like you're going to have to give up something. Bob.
Being kind of the same color as Lee and having worked in areas where I'm not the predominant color, it is... very common for everybody to think you're a cop. Regardless, it's a manner. It's not just your skin; it's the way you carry yourself and things like that. And there's no way for you to even understand that until you've lived in that area and kind of seen how people operate. And then you start to realize, like, oh, I have to stop doing this long list of things until people stop accusing me of being a cop. It takes a long time. It took me a couple of years.
Sure, yeah. Lee might be living a bit in his own fantasy land and not have an entirely good handle on how the world is working, but he's not the only one. Myling seems to be living a bit in her own fantasy land about the way things work. I mean, she's also standing at the top, and you can tell she's in charge now because she's wearing leather, always a sign. Right.
She's got her Romulan uniform on.
Like, right, sure, things could have gone badly, but they didn't because Kong Pak made the right decision. I've got him under control. Everything's cool now.
Yeah. Lee Yong always looks worried.
Nobody has to worry. Everything's cool.
At this point, when she speaks, Lee Yong is just shaking his head and going, we're all fucked.
Yeah. And then you got Cranky Pants down there at the end. Like, I don't like what you're doing. I don't like who you are. I don't like how this is going. You can't make me happy.
Yeah, but I think in the situation of her dealing with the Tong, it's also kind of like Kamala Harris dealing with her criticisms. It's like most of them just boil down to, we don't like you because you're a lady. Because you have lady bits.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. I mean, she has a very brave front up, but there might be some cracks in her walls.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. It's just like, your vagina is really loud. Can you turn it down, please? I can't hear you talking.
I mean, yeah, the Cranky Pants down at the end of the table here. Yeah, that totally. Whereas Lee Yong, yeah, I think he does have some valid criticisms of where Myling's going wrong. Because Myling's like, I'm going to wear my new dress to this event in a new part of town. I'm going to expand my operation. Everybody's going to love me. And Lee Yong's like, would you listen to me? I'm your bodyguard who's trying to bodyguard you and you won't let me body... Why are you being like this? I'm just literally trying to keep you alive here.
I love how this is kind of set up like Shaun of the Dead, where their group in Shaun of the Dead runs into the other group who's trying to survive, and it's like their exact mirror of a group.
Oh, God.
It's kind of like that in all these Tongs, where like Lee Yong's kind of in the same situation as Assam, where he has to deal with this impetuous boss.
Yeah.
And then you've got like Strickland and Catherine Archer kind of doing the same thing. So we've got a lot of parallels through this. It's fun.
Yes. Once again, we're sort of setting up these different power centers. And yeah, even though each one mostly thinks their biggest problems are the people they're competing with on the outside, they're all working with these same similar problems that's eating them up from the inside. And speaking of a power center, we have Agent Mosley of the Secret Service.
Just the best character ever.
And he's coming for Chief Atwood, who I think he really hates, and he's bringing a little stiletto for him. One Agent Lee.
I love this little grinning bastard. He is just the best. And I love it watching him gleefully boss around Atwood. But not as much as I love watching O'Hara's hangdog face as Lee bebops through the office like, oh yeah, I'm in charge too. How about that? That's awesome too.
Oh, and the cops are so mad. They're like, oh, you think you're so good in your fancy Fed suit? Yeah, I do think I'm good. I think I was good before, and I think I'm better now.
Yeah, I do. It costs more than your entire month's salary. And also, the money you got paid in is probably counterfeit. Go fuck yourself. Have a nice day.
Yeah, and he's showing him how this money is counterfeit. He's doing his Sherlock Holmes stuff. He's doing his chemistry things. Drops of stuff. And then the other cops, they've moved into extreme Atwood beatdown protocol. Why are we doing kilo chemistry experiments for you? We just want to go smash. We don't want to do procedure. We don't have time for no fucking chemistry.
When are we ever going to use chemistry in real life? This is bullshit.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have to take this class.
The interesting thing here is he mentions that it's iodine, and so really what he's trying to show them, if it stays red, it's real money, because there's no free starch for the iodine to pick up on and turn purple. But the fake paper, it's not treated the same way the federal paper is, and so it's going to come up in this chemical test. I don't know if it would actually do that, but it seems plausible that, this fake paper would have starch differently than the federal paper would.
Well, there you go. And hey, it's Chinatown, and so there's probably cornstarch all over that money anyway. It's going to work out one way or the other. Cornstarch. Why do we not use cornstarch in American cooking? My God. It makes everything better. And I realized very quickly that's why Del Taco's so fucking good. They use cornstarch on their chicken, and it gives it that awesome mouthfeel. Like, cornstarch is amazing on meat.
No. Here in America, we use corn syrup to make things thicker. Not corn starch.
Yeah. Yep. We got to have the corn syrup because diabetes is good.
Nobody ever lost money in mass American food production by making something sweeter.
Well, it's an absurd percentage of America's pre-diabetic, so I imagine we're right on the cusp of that right now. At some point, we're going to have to dial it back or everybody's going to drop dead.
We're going to hit the end of that someday, I think. Hope? Here's hoping we get it figured out before it's too late, but we don't do so well with moderation.
Well, luckily, we have an amazing healthcare system that'll take care of all of us, even as our health fails.
Yeah. That'll make it fine. So here we are after the big yelling match in the squad room, and Lee and O'Hara are trying to have like a reconciliation luncheon. Two exes getting together. Hey, let's just have a meal.
Too soon after the breakup.
But the level of discomfort in that room.
You got to give it a year, I think, and then you can come back with a clear head.
Yeah, but Lee's showing up with his new job girlfriend. Yeah, I have a nice new suit. I've got a nice new job, and you're just still here, not chief?
Hey, your wife is still left.
Right?
You're right? Okay, good. Just making sure you're all alone. Well, Mosley and I are going to go have a great afternoon. We'll see you later.
Yeah, that whole relationship is definitely unraveling, but now we've got a relationship that's in the process of growing, and it is straight up how you write a comedy romance novel.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be making out to the song "Wild Horses" in a little while.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. We're gonna get half the cast of American Pie into this show somehow because this really is a '90s rom-com.
I mean, we've already got the first scene where there's like that prickly energy. They don't want to like each other, but there's definitely chemistry.
They've got the broy, nerdy, artsy girl who has the amazing clapbacks.
Right.
And she's just ready to go with a strong clapback at all times.
But she can't stop talking to him.
She's gonna win the guy.
Yep.
And her parents said her mouth was going to keep her single for the rest of her life, but she's gonna show them because she's coming home with the jock who won the football game.
And so we've got that 90s rom-com movie. We've also got Mean Girls.
He really is the jock who won the football game, too, because he's the hero of the neighborhood and all that. It is a 90s rom-com.
Oh my gosh, he is. He's got his picture up on the water tower.
he's the starting quarterback. They're definitely going to homecoming together.
Yeah. But we go into the Mean Girl scene because, yes, we are at the gallery opening, and the gallerinas are there.
And apparently stuck in the naughties, too, because we're going right from Never Been Kissed into Mean Girls.
So we've got Blondie, Eliza there, and she's got her little China doll, and she's showing her off to her friends. And then she does that classic thing, look at this painting of how these poor people live. And since they live as poor people, they just turns them into savages. And Mei-ling.
Remember when I told you that story about the warlord I used to be enslaved to? Yeah. So that floor was an awful lot like that painting.
You mean like I used to live?
Even though you slept on a dirt floor, you're still almost human, maybe? A little bit?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, no. I didn't mean you. You're one of the good ones. You understand.
You speak English, at least.
Right? And we get the your English is so good kind of jokes.
Oh, yeah, because when they say, oh, your English is so good, she's like, oh, yeah, so is yours. Congratulations. Somebody as dumb as you could speak this language.
Tee-hee. And we definitely see that Mei-ling is just not so good at the banter with the other girls, but she can totally hang with the dudes. And then, Eliza's going, Why are you flirting with all the men? Hey, you were supposed to be my pet. You can't be other people's pet. I brought you. I found you first.
You know what? Now that I think of it, I like Leary's Assam's clapback to Leary better than Mei-ling's clapback to Strickland on the English thing, because when Assam, he just sneered at him and was like, yeah, because it's fucking easy. That was a good clapback. I preferred that one.
Well, and then the aggro that was going on in that scene. Well, remember, Mei-ling, she's trying to be meek. So sweet.
I still got to unlock that challenge in this game. I haven't figured out meek yet.
Okay, and I do just have to circle around and point out that, clearly Mei-ling is taller than Eliza, and the whole shtick was that Eliza gave her this dress, but it is plausible that dress could have been remade for somebody quite a bit taller, because women's dresses, especially these sort of like afternoon going out and day dresses, they always had a lot of fabric in them, and at the hems and at the seams, and so you could expand or contract them for taller and shorter people, fatter and thinner people. It was just very typical to remake dresses for different people over the life of the piece of clothing. I mean, it wouldn't work for like really super tightly custom fit stuff made out of super expensive silk. They wouldn't have left a bunch of extra fabric there. But for this sort of dress, absolutely.
A point of order on that. How are these women getting around? Because they're wearing kitten heels or something like that.
Yes.
The ground is all horse shit
yes.
mixed with mud.
Carriages.
Mud. Yeah, but they have to get out of them. Do they get carried into these buildings? Because there's no sidewalks, there's no streets, there's no...
And in the nice part of town, you would have boardwalks and stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. So you would just... pat down the horse shit and mud into a solid mass, or what?
But remember, they're putting in a streetcar, and you can't have a streetcar without nice stable stone streets. So there's cobblestones around this part of time.
Right. So yeah, and San Francisco did have streetcars, and they were desegregated, in fact.
But the more important thing to know is that at this time in cities, you'd have kids, usually little boys, out there sort of sweeping paths through the streets so people could cross over and not get their shoes and dresses and pant cuffs all nasty with horse shit.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so they'd earn pennies that way. I mean, child labor.
What?
19th century was a big thing.
Well, that's one thing you just never think about. But before cars, New York City had 1 million pounds of horse shit every day it had to deal with. 1 million pounds.
Yeah.
That's a lot of horse shit.
So you're going to have these cobblestone streets, especially in the nice part of town where you're going to have, an art gallery. So yeah, you'd have street urchins out there sweeping the horse shit out of the way.
Uh-huh.
It's a perfect job for 6-year-olds. What? Oh, yeah. Well, when you talk about those older in-city houses where you have the raised up front stoop.
Yeah, for brownstones and stuff.
I mean, that was there for when it would rain. You wouldn't have like these rivers of refuse and horseshit sort of flowing into your house.
Oh, my God.
Ew. Gross.
That's so gross. It's just a river of shit outside of your house. Oh, my God.
So your nice brownstone that you have your servants and stuff living in, you have to have the door stoop raised up. And it became an ongoing architectural feature even once cars were around and the horses were gone. It was a way to sort of signify that this was a quote-unquote nice house.
That is amazing. Wow.
But also think about these poor servants who are down in the bottom levels. Sometimes that would wash into there. And so there are all these different architectural features, like little walls to keep it out. Because even though they didn't care about the servants so much, like that's where their kitchen was. And yeah, you wouldn't.
So fascinating. I never, ever. I thought it was to make the ground floor less accessible to thieves or something. Yeah, they're. Oh my God. Holy
Full of a lot
shit,
of
that's
horseshit,
crazy.
for sure.
Wow. Woo, the 19th century was something. It is amazing how little attention was paid to sanitation. Like, if you look at any other time in history, attention was paid to sanitation, but it's like, after the Middle Ages, they're like, fuck it, who needs sewers?
How do you get sick anyway? I'm sure it's just from air in the dark, but I mean, for God's sakes, let's not do anything about it.
Well, I guess the Black Death killed off all the doctors, so
there
was that.
So we get our gallery opening, and while Mai Ling isn't so good at talking to the women, she is good at talking to the men, including doing a little wave over at Buckley so we can move over to him.
As you see his vein throbbing in his forehead. Yellow lady in white place.
Oh, yeah, he is absolutely. What the fuck are you doing on my side of town? And you can see he is stressed out from just being around all these people.
Also, being around that many women would stress that man out. That is a man who is distinctly uncomfortable in the presence of women.
Yeah. And we do have one who's about to completely take advantage of that one, Catherine Archer.
Ooh, we're watching this woman break this man like a horse, and he has no idea that it's happening. She's just feeding him sugar cubes and petting him on his nose.
Oh, because he has no charm, and she has more than enough charm to carry both of them along. So it's not so much that she's taking advantage of his weaknesses as she is taking advantage of his discomfort.
Yeah, because she doesn't actually make mention of his discomfort specifically, and she certainly doesn't tease him about it. What she does, like you've said, she just makes him feel better about himself, and that is all he needs. She just has to keep whispering those sweet nothings in his ears, and no, you're doing a great job. And he's like, what? I am? I never heard that before, because everybody hates him.
And she does put the kicker on it by doing a little gentle threatening. And, now Buckley is really into her. This is a language he can understand and respect.
Oh, yeah, because otherwise he'd be like, this is too good to be true. She's going to get me. But yeah.
Yeah, I have respect for that. You can just see that hook just planted right in there in his cheek and dragging him along. And now that Buckley's the front man, he needs to have his own backhand man who's, now he's back there meeting with the newspaper man, and it's time to go after his competition for the mayor, Mr. Thayer.
Yeah, this guy's like a BT Maury Povich, and he's just like, yeah, let's make fun of him for his brother with a heroin addiction. Let's do that. Let's get him on TV and ask him some questions about it. We'll surprise him with his heroin brother.
I mean, going after the no good brother, the no good son, the no good cousin, the no good brother-in-law, that's always been going on for as long as we've had elections. I mean, even back when you were sort of choosing which prince to run the Holy Roman Empire.
Really? It goes back that far? It's not just to Roger Clinton and
forever.
Hunter Biden. It goes back further than that.
Billy Carter. This has always been going on. I mean, it's time. Buckley's in front. We need to know who his behind the scenes man is. Okay, so after the skullduggery in newspaper land, we got to get back to Douglas Strickland. And now that he's done threatening widow women, he's now having a conversation with somebody who's a lot more fun for him, Mr. Leary.
Well, Leary shows up to intimidate Strickland and then realizes Strickland's in a different weight class than he is, because there is a massive man waiting for Leary, in addition to a number of other people. And just the big guy alone, Leary would be like, yeah, this one's going to hurt too much. Even if I win, I lose. So I think I'll just take a walk. But with the other people, he's like, all right, I've clearly miscalculated here. That's my bad. That's my bad.
Just walk away. He's mulling this over. He's thinking about, I might want to try it your way. You do have those nice clothes. Maybe I should look into this new method.
Yeah. He might as well is on the way up and like, hey, take this book, 12 Rules to Power, or whatever the fuck that stupid-ass book is.
Oh my God, yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, Larry definitely is going to show up.
Yes, he's going to have $10,000 for the level 1 classification course.
For, how to gain power or whatever. And speaking of thousands of dollars, we see shirtless Awesome and his nunchucks in his responsibility to watch the moolah.
Oh, yes, because the artsy girl is very unimpressed by the jock in every high school movie, as we know, and she is going to rib him about his love of his nunchucks. She tells him, have fun playing with your wood.
Oh, yeah.
It was right out of Choose All That or something like that.
Absolutely.
That's the one I keep bringing up because that was a great little movie. But
she's doing the, I'm annoyed at this, I'm annoyed at you, I'm annoyed at this whole thing, but mostly I'm annoyed at myself because the fact I'm still interested in you. What?
All we're missing is her going home and calling her best friend on the phone and being like, well, he's such an asshole. I just don't want to ever see him again. But I think I love him too. And
Awesome is definitely feeling a little bit of like, wait, the ground's shifting under me. Normally I have things on lockdown, but oh yeah, we are definitely in romance novel rom-com. I think we're on the second checkbox, third one.
Well, that is also a stage of every man's life where he's like, oh, I like this woman. I'm no longer in control of any of this, so I'm along for the ride. Here, I'm present. Here I am.
Wow.
It's a stark realization for many of us. We're like, oh, all right, I'm no longer in control. That's fine. Or for the guys who it's not fine, they have some growing pains.
They're gonna fight it.
They develop a man cave situation.
And you said Leary's gonna show up with his $10,000 for session 2? Yeah, we're in session 2. So Strickland's showing off. Check out my rich life. Check out my fancy glasses. Check out my good whiskey.
Yeah. His apartment or his house definitely smells of mahogany and leather-bound books. Yeah, rich mahogany.
He's definitely turning up the charisma dial, the bonding dial. So the Civil War, you ever heard of it? And yeah, so basically they share their experiences and what they did so they can grow ever closer and through the sufferings that they suffered as well.
Yeah, you were in the Civil War? I was in the Civil War too. Oh my God, besties.
Oh yeah.
And then they did the obligatory, well, what unit were you in?
Absolutely.
Oh yes, they fought very hard at the such and such and blah 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 blah.
And Larry is really seeing the whole thing where he's trying to hook up with Sophie. It's putting it in perspective. She was just a rich, spoiled, impetuous child, but and that was going to be the long way.
I wonder where the hell Sophie is.
Strickland, on the other hand, he already has power.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So they're both in a mental hospital or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Buckley has just bundled that entire family into rugs and stuffed them in a corner. And yeah, Sophie's in like a nunnery or at a boarding school or...
It's all horrible. Moving on.
Who knows? Who cares? Buckley sure doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. He's got all their money and their lives are even worse than they would have been otherwise.
Exactly. Well, you know who's got it good now? Because they've got a lot of money, like enough money to literally throw around.
I'm going to guess you're going to say Young June.
Oh.
Is it Young June?
Why, yes. It's Mr. Irrational Exuberance himself, Young June.
Oh. He's nothing if not dumb.
He's got the fuck yes speech. He's making it rain in a brothel. What? Like literally, what more does this man want in life?
Yep, he's a fucking moron. I swear to God, it's like he's never seen a single movie in his entire life. He just does not know how to launder money. It's crazy. It's like the dudes in Office Space where they're just like asking random people who come to the door, like, how do you launder money? You're a drug dealer, right?
Googling it. Now what this is really doing, it's giving Assam a migraine. You can like see it glowing in his head. He's got the big crankies about it.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you are trying to be the shadow leader instead of just grabbing your balls and being the leader. Sometimes the dumbass actual leader is going to do his own thing. It's a problem with humans.
Yeah, Wang Chao's getting pretty impatient with Assam. He's like, look, you want to be shadow leader, you want to be pretend leader, you want to be leader, you got to do something here. And you need to come up with some solutions. My Ling's brother, she seems to be doing okay, so it might be time for you to get out there and investigate about your sister, My Ling's brother.
Has that not occurred to you yet? How hasn't it?
Yeah, get out there, figure some shit out. And it's not just Assam who's figuring some shit out. Lee is back with Wang Chao, back in his storeroom. New badge, new rules.
New me.
Yeah.
Who dis?
Wang Chao is just like, out. Get out. There is no new deal. I am not your guy.
None at all. It is... And I love that Lee just looks like the most dangerous Undertaker who has ever lived. He's in that perfectly fitting suit, just dark and foreboding, and his pallor is gross, and he looks like a corpse. And
yeah.
I don't know why Undertakers in movies always look like that. I guess we just expect people to handle corpses to look like corpses, but...
Maybe there's some limit of formaldehyde you can inhale before it all goes wrong.
That could be. I don't know. I've never met an Undertaker.
Lee thinks he can use Chow as a lead.
Well...
Wang Chao has no time for him.
As it turns out, he's not even trying to do that. He's trying to flush Chow out so that Mosley can follow him to the source.
Mosley thinks he's clever. And Wang Chao is just like, yeah, you can tail me in my turf in Chinatown?
Yeah, because Mosley doesn't have a southern accent, so it's unlikely that he's ever, like, chased slaves 2,000 miles through the woods or anything like that. Like, Chow escaped slavery in Cuba. He is good to go. He can hide from anyone. He's like a chameleon. But, yeah, Mosley had no chance there.
No. You know how Assam had the crankies? Well, he's going to go work off some of those crankies.
Where is he going to go?
I think he's going to go find some Long Z to have a fight with.
You know, it's one of the greatest things in the world when, at least as a guy who likes to fight, you look for times where you can have a free pass on a fight, where you are justified and nobody can say you shouldn't have been beating the shit out of those people. You look for those times, and sometimes you make those times, and that's what Assam's doing here. He's making an opportunity for himself.
He wasn't there just to get in a fight with some Long Z. He was also there to get in a fight with his sister. This is some straight up, don't touch me, you're on my side, you started it, shut up.
Yes, slappity slap, slap, slap.
Yes. Assam's baiting my Ling is baiting him back. No, you shut up.
If their parents were still alive, they definitely would have pulled the car over and whooped them on the side of the road.
Well, we don't have their parents there, but we do have Leong. Children. Jeez.
Yeah, he would have them both over his knee if he had the opportunity.
But we do definitely get some more sibling business. But you know what's more important here? Jamie, turns out you were right.
What? Was I? When?
And here I was. I was assigning Strickland complex motives.
Oh, foolish.
When it came to Nellie.
Foolish woman. Foolish woman.
And you were saying, no, it's simpler.
It's so simple. It's so simple. He's a simple man, and he has simple pleasures. He is just mad that a woman does not like him. It's just every school shooter, like right here, boiled into one person.
And I'm like, he's going to make business decisions about a business problem. It's not, but it's, no, not business. Mm-mm.
No, he wanted to bang that lady, and that lady wants to bang a Chinese lady, and he's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, that's not even a human being. Yeah. Like, what is she, fucking dogs too? Like, he must have been losing his mind. Yeah.
And he is now planning to take her down. And yeah, for only the one reason.
Meanwhile, as we know from Nell earlier in the thing, he has sex with Chinese prostitutes. What the fuck?
Yeah, but see, he can't have them as his showpiece, like dinner with the governor, like look at my pretty wife that's successful. That's what he needs Nellie for.
Oh, no. You just strangle him when you're done with him.
No, that's more of a Buckley move.
Yeah. I like the way that made you shield your eyes from the light. Nobody can see that, but she's like, oh my god, that was too real.
I'm holding my temples, headache. I'm getting the migraine now. And look, okay, if Strickland's not doing things that are giving me a headache, Young Jun is doing things that are still giving Assam a headache. What? He's just giving him out to kids.
So something similar to this happened in the film Goodfellas, for anybody who's seen that. And the people who spent the money in Goodfellas, the way Young Jun is treating the counterfeit money in this, would have gotten him 2 bullets behind the head. That would have been the end of him. He would have gotten into his car, it would have exploded, or he would have gotten shot in the back of the head.
Yeah. At this point, Young Jun's still the big boss. So I guess that means that gives him a little more rope to string this thing out. And yeah, Asam's just like, you chucklehead. Young Jun's like, look, everything's under control. I'm laundering it. It's good. I know how this works. And yeah, Asam's headache even bigger.
I'm telling you, Father June's going to end up coming up behind him and just putting two in his head for this silly nonsense. You mark my words. He's even going to speak in Italian as he does it. He's going to give him some speech about Omerta, and then bang, bang.
But clearly Asam went somewhere to walk it off. He decides he's going to try something different. He's going to try being nice to this girl who he did thing. Yeah. So, yeah, they totally go into the next phase.
Oh, yes.
Because he's like, yeah, I wonder what would happen if I tried being nice to this girl.
Well, he's going to get ground up some more because he is a country bumpkin, and he buys food for a girl with refined tastes, and that does not work out for him. It would be like a country bumpkin trying to buy you a meal and swoon you with Blimpie, going to you with Blimpie and being like, "Here, miss, I have procured for us a feast." Would you eat Blimpie if it was served to you?
I would have to be very hungry, very far away from other food. I mean, there's a time and a place. They just aren't very many of them now. I've become a refined, whiny baby about food.
So you would do exactly like she did in this.
Yes, exactly.
Like, no, this is garbage. We're going to go get real food. Thank you.
And on and off. I've been pushing the idea that Assam comes from lower class farmer folk, and yeah, and she calls him a yokel, and he admits to being a yokel, and yeah.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
Oh, so that means your taste buds don't work.
I did actually really enjoy this little detour that they took where you did get to see kind of what would 19th century Chinese entertainment in San Francisco look like. And they've got the 2-stringed instrument with the bow playing as the soundtrack. It was just all super plausible and cool looking. And they were, playing out this Chinese myth.
Yeah, it was basically like a 19th century South Park about Chinese Thor.
Yeah.
Was essentially what they were watching. It was, you could really, that was the first time I've ever seen Shadow Theater, and I enjoyed being able to see it. Yeah, it was fun.
All right. I had weird hippie parents, and they made it like it was super important for them to expose me to all sorts of cultural phenomena.
Well, you are on the West Coast where there's a sizable Chinese population. And I mean, we have Asian people in Philadelphia, but there was no Shadow Theater. I didn't see the Peking Opera until I went to China.
Oh, wow. Okay. And this is definitely one of those situations where it's interesting to get the male perspective and the female perspective on exactly the same story. Here we are with basically like you said, the Chinese Thor, the thunder god, and Assam is like, oh, that's so sweet. He got a wife forever. And Yeonmi is like, oh, you mean she was resurrected from her death so she could be an eternal bride just to help this guy be a better killer? Thanks. That sounds great. Tons of fun.
Well, it is really that it does provide some serious insight into the way men's brains don't work in your 20s. You're between your 15 and 35, maybe. Your brain just doesn't work. And you're just like, everything seems like, well, if I fight everyone, I should be able to win this. Never mind the fact I don't know how to fight, or I've never exercised, or any of it. You're just like, I'll fight everything, it'll work out. And it's idiocy. But so stories like you're watching this story where this girl becomes enslaved to this man so that she can help him become a better fighter, and they end up married, and he's like, oh, see, they fell in love because he did so much murdering. And it's like, that wasn't the fucking moral of that story at all. But we teach I'm going to go a little further with that. Sure. We teach the progressive resistance, the history of progressive resistance, as coming from Milo of Croton, who he was this wrestler who carried around this calf on his back every day, and as it got bigger, he got stronger. Except that is not the moral of the story of Milo the wrestler. The story is of hubris, because he was a complete fucking dickhead, and he was such a shithead to everybody that at one point he was trying to rip this stump in half. He had been tricked into ripping this stump out of the ground, and so he tried to pull a stump that was split in half, and it snapped back on his hands, and he got stuck there and eaten by wolves. And,
oh my God.
So the story is, no matter how strong you are, you're going to be fucked if you act like an asshole and you don't work together with other people. But no modern person knows that. They just know Milo of Croton carried a cow around until he got big and strong, so eat more meat and lift more weights.
Oh, yeah, I remember the lifting his cow every day as it got
So
heavier.
they just awesome the shit out of that moral, and men do that all the time. So
at least Assam is sitting there going, I might have missed... Did I miss the point? I might have missed the point.
Yeah, well, it helps that he has this girl who's like, hey, stupid. The moral of the story is terrible. So just don't be that guy is the moral of the story. And you're being that guy because I discovered that our avenging angel of Chinatown is just a regular old vicious hatchet man. So that's what and he's just, that actually sunk in, I think. Like a hatchet.
And so we go from a date night that didn't go so well to one that went, I guess, incredibly well. And so, Hong's back there, and he's trying to catch the eye of the guy who caught his eye. And turns out that, this performer, he's completely into Hong as well.
Yes, the manic pixie girl. And I have confirmed with my wife that would be my my status in any romance novel, I guess. So, yay for that, I guess. I didn't know that, but... I don't know. I guess that's not a good thing, but here I am, pixieing it up.
As much as this is the meet cute that totally works out. I mean, they leave the club together. And Hong is able to say, you can just tell from the look on his face, America is the land where dreams come true. Yeah, well, probably not because of all the wars and famines and, general horrendousness. But the guy also has an amazing manic pixie line, which you picked up on. And do you remember what it was? Oh, yes. It is the ultimate manic pixie dream girl line. You can't be an immigrant if you never stay in one place. And, I mean, really, initially that just feels so adventurous and free and delightful and exciting and amazing. But then when it comes to having any sort of long-term relationship beyond those 2 magical weeks.
But those mad two-week affairs, if you string enough of them together, that's a life.
That's true.
It's a very tumultuous life.
And, I mean, for this guy, he and Hong, they definitely recognize that there are extra bonus life pitfalls for not being straight and not being white. I mean, because of all these extra bonus traps for being a non-white gay guy, the fatalism is totally going to come into it.
Oh.
Right.
Oh, and I'm fucking dead anyway. It's a miracle I lived this long, so I might as well just while out and do what I can.
And so, they dissolve away, giggling into their cotton candy dream, but we dissolve back into reality. And so today's lesson is how not to do politics in an Irish bar.
Oh, yes. And it seems like this is not a lesson that anyone would ever need to be taught, but you would think that with Leary's reputation as a bare-knuckle fighter, nobody would ever try to go into his bar and muscle him. You know, it would they would have had to have heard, like,
right.
Even as he's walking into the bar, like, oh, did you see that Leary kicking the shit out of that guy yesterday? Oh, yeah, he complimented his shoes, but it wasn't a very good compliment. So, but he just strolls in and starts talking shit, this maniac.
I am going to go to an Irishman's bar and yell at him.
Ooh.
Oh, he just stabs the absolute shit out of him.
He's not just an Irish bar owner. He's an Irish mob boss who's involved in politics now. Like,
right.
He's about as dangerous a person as you could come across.
Yeah, Leary's not even the kind of guy who has to call his muscle in. He is his own muscle. And the guy is yelling at his face.
Yeah, but then when the guy's like, I'm going to lodge a complaint, he's like, oh, seriously, you want a cop? Go get that one here. I got the chief. I got this guy. I got that guy.
I got this other cop over here. That one. This cop? How about that cop? That was just enjoyably stupid. Just absolutely by far the most enjoyable part.
It would have been great if Lee was in the bar at the time. He'd be like, I could even get that guy. He's not even Irish, but he'll arrest you right now if I ask him to.
And the guy is standing there reaching down, trying to pull up his dignity from down around his ankles. I won't forget this.
Good. That was the point.
Yeah. Got it in one.
That hole in your hand was intended as a reminder. We didn't want to tie a ring around your finger around your string, or a string around your finger. Jesus, I could not get that out of my mouth.
But it does feel like Larry's starting to get this new outlook on life.
Oh yeah, he's totally turned a corner.
I'm never not going to be a thug, but I might mix it up with a little political influence now and then.
Totally. He's a changed man.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, Leary's becoming a more complex guy. He's understanding the world's a more complex place. So I'm not just going to smack you. I'm going to bring in the politics. By the way, I have some cops in my bar.
Definitely. For sure.
So now you're really screwed. He's adding an extra layer to his whole thing now. So after the most enjoyably stupid thing, we go to the next chapter of our rom-com.
I was really disappointed that they didn't play that song "Kiss Me" from the that was in all the 90s rom-com.
So, yeah, this is the important part where they almost kiss. So, next time they're going to have to.
Will they, won't they?
They're fated to kiss next time. There's nothing they can do about it.
This was the kissing version of the guy doing he's going to put his arm around the girl, but then she looks over and catches him, and he's like, oh, yawn. I'm yawning. I was yawning. I was just stretching.
Nothing to see here. Yeah, this is the time where she definitely goes home and calls her friends to complain about the guy and how much she totally doesn't like him. Never going to talk to him again, not even going to think about him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She's never going to make out with him. She's writing it in her diary tonight. She's going to write a good 10,000 words about how never, ever, ever going to kiss this man.
And that, sadly, was the last light moment. Because, as you recall, we talked at the beginning that this is a Dustin Nguyen episode. And there should be some big damn fights. And we haven't had any big damn fights. So now...
Now we get the rage of the incel.
It's time for the big damn fight. Now is that time. I'm not. And so Strickland is like, I'm not just going to bankrupt you. I'm not just going to make fun of you in public. I'm going to burn it to the ground. Ashes, torture, all those girls, just take it all away in the cruelest way possible.
Well, it is San Francisco tradition to burn shit down.
Yeah, it's true.
They burned San Francisco down 6 times in the first 18 months it existed.
Oh my God.
So, oh yeah, they love burning down San Francisco. It was the way. But that was every city was burning down all the time. Chicago kept burning down.
That's true. As we pointed out at this point, everybody's light in San Francisco comes from candles and whale oil and coal gas and all kind of explodey, burny things, and everything's built of wood. So explodey all over the place.
I just hate thinking about the whale holocaust that's going on right now in this time period. But my God, it's just every episode you're like, oh, by the way, they killed a bunch of whales. It wasn't in the episode, but they did it anyway. Just remember.
Oh, well, don't worry. as usual, it gets worse later. That's my job.
Thanks. I'm going to keep reminding you about smell-o-vision, motherfucker. How about that?
Okay, I earned that one. And this fight, it starts out and it's a doozy. And yeah, Atoy knows that something bad's going down. She just turns to Nellie and says, "Get gun."
Yep. And she starts blasting on fools, too. She's going in.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a really fun fight scene.
And Atoy has her big moment. She's like, "I tried to go straight, and look what happened. Look what you made me do."
Yeah, it's in every single Western movie, by the way. And I mean every single Western movie. So...
And this fight, it has swords, it has guns, it has whips, it has fire, it has farm implements. Jagged. They didn't leave anything
out. No. Lai clearly got good with the scythes while she was doing the farming because she was harvesting souls with those things rather than wheat. She was going in. And there was a great scene where Lai gets hit by a torch. Like she gets actually hit with the torch, and all these embers fly off of her. And it was so fucking cool. Like, I don't think that was computer generated. It looked real.
Oh, yeah, you can definitely pad somebody to whack them with embers. It's not as hot as flames, too. Especially, I'm sure they have something cool to make it out of. Yeah, and yeah, Lai, she will make noise if things are out of hand enough.
Yes, she banshee screamed as she jumped through a fire. It was pretty cool.
And by the time she got to the other end of the whip that Atoy was on, that guy was on, not letting that go. No, she wasn't going to let that go, and neither were the other girls that survived this. They were going to work it out on any guy who tripped and fell down.
There were so many different tropes involved in this, but it was like they were just checking every box.
Yeah,
like especially in the action movie ones, because you had the big guy and then you had a big guy with a bullwhip. Oh yeah, and it seems like they always add a big guy with a bullwhip to certain movies to add, because a bullwhip is a very there's always that undertone of racism that is. Like, the idea of whipping a person is horrific. So if you're using that as your primary weapon, you're like the ultimate evil. And it's really, really common in martial arts.
Well, and it also sort of implies this person isn't just a bad guy. They have spent a lot of time perfecting the art of hurting other people or torturing other people. It is a artistic and time-consuming form of cruelty. There's some artistry involved in it. So they had to spend a lot of time at it. And
that actually is a little bit of I don't know about a little bit, but it's not a precise stereotype, because for instance, one of the greatest bullwhip artists ever was this guy Bill Smith, who was Conan's dad in the movie Conan, and he was in Red Dawn and stuff. But he spoke 9 languages. He's like a super progressive guy, and he just loved the art of the bullwhip. And then the term cracker comes from cowboys from Florida who were very, very good at using their whip in order to spur cattle on, but it wasn't because they were whipping the cattle. It was because the tip of the whip goes so fast that crack is actually breaking the sound barrier.
Right.
And that sound carries a really long way, so they're able to move cattle very easily just by making those whipping sounds.
I mean, yeah, the development of the whip was not really about causing people or animals pain. It was actually a way to signal. But of course, when they're the bad guy, it's got to be about striping someone. It's got to be about, the cruelty really has to come in.
Yeah, I don't think they did the really stupid one where they catch the whip in the air and it wraps around their arm. That always irritates the shit out of me. I'm pretty sure your fucking arm would just come off if you tried that. Yeah, it's stupid, because you'd just be dead. That would be the end of you.
No, they wrapped it around her neck.
That's a terrible weapon. Just would not be fun to be involved with at all.
And so we do come to the end of this episode, and Nellie's farm and Atoy's dreams, they've gone up in flames.
Literally and figuratively.
It's just a fucking disaster. Yeah. So next week's episode, the title makes sense. In Chinatown, no one thinks about forever. Atoy's making the point you can't think about forever. Everything explodes into flames or blood or ashes or I don't know. It's terrible.
and because we know that that slash and burn agriculture just depletes the ground of minerals, so that farmland's going to be useless pretty soon.
Well, also the pouring of the kerosene into the dirt, that does not help.
Yeah, probably not. Kerosine's typically not good for plants. It's
because at this point it's not going to be like diesel. They didn't have that quite yet. At least not widespread. It's going to be kerosene.
Yep. We did it. And you guys, well, you guys don't know this, but it took us 4 tries to get this done because
there was a snowstorm.
There were weather delays, computer crashes. It was outrageous, but 4th time's the charm. Ugh. I can't believe we recorded this 4 times.
That is enough of episode 3. So next, episode 4.
I hope we never have to... I mean, I loved that episode, but I hope we never talk about it again, honestly. I genuinely hope we never, ever have to discuss that episode ever again.
All right, let's leave this one in the rear window. Where can we find you on the internet, Jamie?
I am on the Instagram at Plague of Strength, and I post every day about martial arts and lifting and history and all kinds of stuff like that. How about yourself?
And you can find me on my podcast, The History of American Food, and a couple different places on the internet as at THOA Food, mainly Instagram and Threads, but unfortunately some of my friends have been crooking their fingers and calling me back to the Twitters, and I'm a little ashamed of it.
You're going back to Twitter? All right. Well,
but I am finishing up the Years of War and Adventure and busting into the 19th century and how the railroads and cardboard and all those exciting things are about to totally change American food.
Awesome. Well, if you can fit it in between all of your racist musings on Twitter.
It's embarrassing. My return to Twitter, I should be ashamed of myself.
You're just screaming into the abyss now. Like, it's you versus, like, 6,000,000 Stricklands. Oh, and a Buckley. There's a Buckley or 2 on there as well.
No. Now that Buckley's the front man, it's his backhand guys. It's just like the Buckley sock puppet account. And so next week we will come back with hopefully a more hopeful episode, or at least one that has some more forward momentum.
At least one that is not season 3, episode 3. That's all I want out of life.
We'll see everybody soon.
Bye, guys.
You can find more of Jamie and how he can make you stronger at plagueofstrength.com. You can learn more about old American food on my other podcast, The History of American Food. We're on Instagram at PCG Podcast. And you can always reach out to us by email at pcgpodcasters@gmail.com. And you can find more dope beats like this one from royalraven.com.